The journey home was quiet. The Vanguard moved through space like a shadow, its pulse drive jumping in short bursts to avoid detection. The crew sat in silence, not from fear, but from something deeper, peace. They had gone back to the place where humanity had been rejected. They had faced the beings who called them unworthy, and they had not fought with weapons or hate. They had fought with truth, and they had won. Lila spent most of the trip in the science bay, watching the data from the mission. The Velen's final signal played over and over in her headphones. Not words, not sound. Just a feeling translated by Corey into soft light and tone. Curiosity, respect, a door opening. "They saw us," she said to Daniel one night. "Really saw us?" "And we saw them," he replied. "Not as gods, not as judges, as people, scared maybe, trying to protect their world." Jason sat in the pilot's seat even when he wasn't needed. He stared at the stars, thinking of Earth, of his brother Nathan, of the years they had spent in the dark, building, waiting. "Do you think they'll remember?" he asked. "Remember what?" "Us. The Vanguard. What we did." Daniel smiled. "They'll never forget. Back on Earth, no one knew the mission had even begun. To the world, the Odyssey's failure was ancient history. Schools taught it as a lesson in humility. Politicians used it to argue for peace or for war, depending on the day. Most people just moved on. But in a small lab in Nevada, Nathan Cole waited. He checked the secure channel every hour. He barely slept. He ate at his desk, eyes on the screen, hoping for a single sign. Then one morning it came, a soft ping, a signal from deep space. The Vanguard was coming home. Nathan stood up. His hands shook. He pressed a button. "They're back." Within minutes, a small team arrived. Scientists, doctors, security. They sealed the desert base. No one could enter or leave. The world must not know. Yet, 3 days later, the Vanguard appeared in high orbit. It did not land. Instead, it sent down a small pod, black and smooth, shaped like a teardrop. It fell through the air, slowed by silent thrusters, and touched down in a dry lake bed near Site Gamma. Nathan was there when the hatch opened. Daniel stepped out first, older, thinner, his face lined with time and stress, but his eyes were strong. Nathan didn't speak. He just hugged him. Then came Lila. Then Jason. One by one, the crew walked into the sun, breathing Earth air for the first time in over a year. They were taken underground, checked for illness, questioned, not as prisoners, but as heroes. "What happened?" Nathan asked. Daniel told him everything, from the silent landing to the quakes, to the message, to the lights in the sky. Nathan listened without moving. When it was over, he closed his eyes. "We did it," he whispered. "We made them see." "But we didn't stop there," Lila said. "We showed them who we are, not perfect, not peaceful, not violent, just human." Nathan opened his eyes. Then it's time. The next day, the United Earth Council was called. Leaders from every nation gathered in Geneva. They expected a report on space research. Instead, they got a video. It showed the Vanguard's journey, the Velen City, the quakes, the data burst, the final lights in the sky, and Daniel's voice. "They forced us to leave. We came back. Not for war, for respect, and we got it." The room was silent. Then the questions came. "Is this real? Can we trust them? Do we go back?" Daniel stood in front of them, calm. "The Velen are not our enemies. They were afraid. We showed them we are not a threat. But we also showed them we will not be erased. The stars are not for one species. They are for all." A long pause. Then a vote. Not for war. Not for hiding. For contact. A new ship would be built. Not a weapon. Not a stealth craft. A meeting vessel. white and open with no weapons, carrying scientists, artists, and diplomats. Its name, the Bridge. When the news spread, the world reacted slowly. Some cheered, some cried, others were afraid, but children everywhere, looked up at the night sky and smiled. Months passed. The Vanguard was taken apart, its tech studied, its lessons saved. Jason returned to flying, but now as a teacher. Lila wrote a book, What We Saw. Daniel gave speeches, not about victory, but about dignity. And Nathan? He stood one night on a hill outside the base, looking at the stars. Jason joined him. Fool. You think they're watching? Jason asked. Maybe, Nathan said. Or maybe they're just living, like us. Will we go back? Yes, Nathan said, but not to fight. To talk, to learn, to be friends. Jason smiled. We were never just survivors. We were stubborn. We were loud. We were never going to stay gone. Nathan put a hand on his brother's shoulder. That's what they didn't understand. Humans don't give up. Not on dreams. Not on each other. Not on the stars. Far away, on Kepler 442b, the central tower lit up again. Not in warning, not in fear, in rhythm. The same rhythm as the music sent from the Vanguard. Avellan stood at the edge of the spire, looking up. And for the first time, it sent a signal not to warn, but to say, we are here. We see you. Come back. The 7 days passed like a slow breath. The Vanguard stayed hidden on the far side of the moon, its crew moving quietly, speaking in low voices. Every hour, Lila checked the sensors. The Veln had increased their scanning. Waves of light pulsed from the central tower, sweeping across the planet and into space. They were looking for something that didn't belong, but they didn't find the Vanguard and they didn't find the Quakes. On the 7th day, at exactly 0317 ship, time, the first device activated. It started deep under the northern ice, a low hum, too soft for human ears. Then a vibration. The ground cracked. A thin line of light rose from below, like a vein opening. The quake pulsed once, twice, then released a wave of reverse frequency tuned to disrupt the Velon's harmonic energy for a moment. Nothing. Then the northern spire flickered, just once, like a light blinking in the dark. Lila saw it first. Corey, record everything. Now! The AI responded instantly. All sensors active, recording. 2 minutes later, the second quake went off near the equator. This time, the effect was stronger. The ground shook. A river of molten rock shifted, and the main tower, the tallest one, shuddered. Its glow dimmed, then flared back up. They're fighting it, Jason said. But they're not winning, Lila said, watching the data. The frequency is messing with their network. It's like static in their mind. The third quake fired in the south. Now all 3 zones were vibrating. The planet itself was singing a wrong note. On the surface, the Veln reacted. They didn't run. They didn't scream. But their movements changed. They floated slower. Some stopped midair. Others gathered in groups, their bodies pulsing in unison as if trying to stabilize. They're linked, Daniel said. One feels it, they all feel it. And right now, Lila said, they're feeling pain. The central tower flashed, red, then blue, then dark. For 10 full seconds, the entire city went silent. No light, no movement, just stillness. Then, slowly, the glow returned. Weaker, slower. Like a heart that had almost stopped. Rick grinned. We broke them. No, Daniel said. We just made them notice us. The crew watched as the Veln began to pull back into the towers. The patrols stopped. The scanning waves ceased. The city was healing, but it would take time. This is our chance, Jason said. We go down. We show them who we are. Not yet, Daniel said. We've made noise. Now we need to speak. Lila looked at him. You mean the message? Daniel nodded. They think we're violent, emotional, unstable. We show them the truth, not war, not hate. Us. Nathan's voice came through the secure line. I agree. We've proven we can hurt them. Now we prove we're better. The plan changed. Instead of more attacks, the Vanguard would launch a series of small drones, not weapons but carriers. Each one held a data burst, images, sounds, and feelings from Earth. Not just the bad, not just war and fire, but children laughing, families eating, music playing, doctors healing, people helping each other after storms, explorers stepping onto new land, and one final message recorded by Daniel. You judged us without knowing us. You sent us away. But we learned. We came back. Not to destroy. To be seen. We are human. And we are here. The drones launched at night. Small, silent, shaped like leaves. They drifted through the upper air using wind and heat to move. One by one, they reached the base of the towers and attached themselves to the crystal walls. Then they played. The data burst flowed into the Veln network like water into dry soil. For the first time in their long history, the Veln felt something new. Not fear, not anger. Confusion. Because what they saw didn't match what they believed. They saw a species that fought, yes. That hurt itself, yes. But also one that built, loved, created, and never gave up. They saw a child holding a broken bird trying to fix its wing. They saw a man giving his food to a stranger. They saw a woman dancing in the rain just because she was alive. And they felt it. Not just with their eyes, with their minds. The data was coded to carry emotion, joy, sorrow, hope. Deep in the central tower, the oldest Veln, the one who had spoken to the Odyssey, touched the wall where a drone had attached, and for the first time, it felt doubt. They are not what? We thought, it said to the others. They are dangerous, another replied. Yes, the first said, but not in the way we feared. They are dangerous because they endure, because they care, because they return. Meanwhile, the Vanguard waited, but not for long. A signal came, not a warning, not an attack. A question. Sent on the same frequency, the Odyssey had used years ago, 3 simple words formed in broken human speech. Why did you come? The crew looked at Daniel. He took a breath. Corey, open a channel. Voice only. Channel open. Daniel spoke slowly, clearly. We came back because we were told we didn't belong. But we do. In the universe. In the stars. With you. We don't want war. We want to be seen. As we are. Not perfect, but real. Silence. Then another message. You hurt us. We did, Daniel said, because you hurt us first, not with weapons, with words, with judgment. But we didn't come to stay. We came to say, we are not gone, we are not weak, we are human. The signal stopped. Hours passed. The crew waited. Rick paced. They're building a weapon. I know it. Maybe, Jason said, but maybe they're just thinking. Then, just before dawn, the central tower lit up. Not in anger. In color, waves of soft light spread from the top, rising into the sky like auroras. They formed shapes, circles, lines, patterns that shifted and danced. Lila gasped. It's a reply. Corey analyzed it. The pattern matches the data we sent. They're using our music, our images. They're echoing us. Daniel smiled. They're speaking our language. The lights moved for 10 minutes. then stopped. One final signal came through, not words, a feeling, curiosity, and something else. Respect. The vanguard sat in silence. They had not won a war. They had won something bigger. Understanding. What now? Jason asked. Daniel looked at the planet, glowing under its soft lights. Now, he said, we go home, and we tell Earth. We are not alone, and we are not weak. The vanguard turned in the dark. Its engines pulsed once, and it vanished, into space. Behind it, the Veln watched the stars. And for the first time, they wondered, not about danger, but about friendship. The jump was smooth. One moment, the vanguard hung near Earth's orbit. The next, it appeared in the cold dark of the Kepler 442 system. No flash, no shockwave, just silence. The ship floated, a black blade against the stars, its engines off, its sensors on. Inside, the crew held their breath. We're here, Jason said, his voice low. Confirm location, Daniel ordered. Kepler 442b in range, Corey replied. Distance, 2 million kilometers. No signs of immediate detection. Lila leaned forward in her seat, eyes fixed on the screen. There it was, the planet. Blue and green wrapped in white clouds. And there, near the equator, the crystal towers rose like glowing teeth. They pulsed with soft light, shifting colors like a slow heartbeat. The Veln city. They're still here, she whispered. And they don't know we are, Daniel said. The plan was clear. Stay hidden. Learn. Strike. Only when ready. The vanguard moved slowly, using tiny bursts from its side thrusters to drift toward a small, lifeless moon on the far side of the planet. Once there, it landed in a deep crater, its dark skin blending with the rock. Power down all non-essential systems, Daniel said. We go quiet. The lights inside the ship dimmed. Only Corey's soft glow and the science panels stayed on. For 3 days, no one moved. No signals were sent. The vanguard became a rock, just another piece of space junk. Lila and her team worked in silence, launching small drones from the ship's belly. These were not like old human drones. They were tiny, flat, and covered in the same light-absorbing material as the vanguard. They flew without sound, powered by tiny solar cells and stored energy. Their mission, map the Veln city, study their energy fields, and find weak points. The first data came in slowly. The towers were not just buildings. They were alive, made of a crystal that grew and changed, powered by the planet's magnetic field. The Veln moved through them like water through pipes, their tall, glowing bodies stepping from one spire to another without touching the ground. They don't walk, Jason said, watching the feed. They glide. Telekinesis, Lila said. They use their minds to move. The drones also found something else, a network of energy lines like veins running beneath the surface of the planet. They connected all the towers, feeding them power. And at the center was a massive structure, twice as tall as the others, pulsing with a deep red light. That's the core, Nathan said, speaking through the secure link from Earth. If that goes down, the whole system fails. But how? Do we hit it? Rick asked. We can't just fly in, they'll see us. Lila had an idea. Remember the Odyssey? They didn't use weapons. They used sound, not loud sound, a kind of hum. It messed with our systems. Resonance, Daniel said. Yes, the Veln use harmonic frequencies to keep their tech stable. If we send the opposite frequency, like a wrong note, it could shake their crystals apart. Like breaking a glass with sound, Jason said. Exactly, Nathan's voice came again. We've built the devices, small, deep-penetrating charges. They vibrate at a frequency that cancels theirs. We call them quakes. If we plant them in the right spots, they could weaken the whole network. How many do we need? Daniel asked. 3. One near the North Pole, one at the equator, one in the southern magnetic zone. Plant them underground. When they activate, the planet will shake. Not enough to destroy, but enough to disrupt. And then? Rick asked. Then we watch, Daniel said. We don't kill. We don't destroy. We just make them feel us. The crew trained for days. Jason and two others, Lena, a stealth expert, and Paul, a geotech engineer, would go to the surface. They would wear suits that bent light around them, making them nearly invisible. They would land in remote areas, plant the quakes, and return before dawn. The night of the mission, the air in the Vanguard was tense. No one spoke much. They checked their gear, ran final tests, and looked at each other with quiet strength. Remember, Daniel said, we are not here to hurt. We are here to be seen, to be heard. If they try to stop you, run. We can try again. Jason nodded. We'll make it count. The shuttle launched at midnight. It slipped from the Vanguard like a shadow and crossed the dark side of the planet. The landing was rough. Dust, wind, and low gravity made it hard to control. But they touched down safely in a dry valley, far from the towers. The suits worked. As soon as they stepped out, their bodies faded from view. Only small blinking lights on their wrists showed they were there. Comms check, Jason whispered. Clear, Lena said. Let's move. They walked for hours, climbing rocky hills, avoiding open fields. The air was thin but breathable. The sky was purple at dusk, with two small moons rising. The towers glowed in the distance, beautiful and cold. They reached the first site, a deep crack in the earth where heat rose from below. Paul opened the quake device. It was small, like a metal egg with a timer and a drill tip. This goes in 20 meters, he said. They worked fast. The drill hummed quietly. Dust flew. Soon, the hole was ready. Paul placed the quake inside, set the timer for 7 days, and sealed the top with a cover that matched the rock. One down, Jason said. The next two sites were harder. At the equator, they had to cross a wide plain where Velm patrols glided through the air. Lena spotted them first, tall, glowing figures floating above the ground, scanning. They're looking, she said. For what? Paul asked. Us, Jason said. Or anything out of place. They waited for hours, hidden under a rock ledge. When the patrols passed, they moved. The second quake was planted near a river of hot liquid rock. The third, in a frozen cave near the South Pole. Each time they worked fast. Each time they held their breath, afraid the Veln would sense them. On the way back, Paul's suit flickered. No, he whispered. A small crack in the light-bending layer made his arm briefly visible. A Veln turned. It did not move toward them. It only paused, looked, then sent out a soft pulse of light into the sky. They know, Lena said. Run, Jason said. They sprinted toward the shuttle. The Veln did not chase, but the sky changed. The towers began to glow brighter. A wave of light spread from the central spire like a ripple in water. They're scanning, Lila said, watching from the Vanguard. They're trying to find the source. Get them out now, Daniel said. The shuttle launched just as the first energy wave passed over the surface. It shook the ground, but did no damage. The Vanguard pulled it in and fired its thrusters, vanishing into the shadow of the moon. Inside, the crew sat in silence. Did they see us? Rick asked. Maybe, Daniel said, but they don't know what we did. Lila smiled. In 7 days, they'll find out. Back on Earth, Nathan stood in his lab, looking at the stars. Phase 1 complete, he said to no one. The Vanguard floated in the dark, waiting. The quakes were buried, the Veln were watching, and humanity, once cast out, was now playing the long game. They had not come with fire, they had come with silence. and silence, when used right, could shake the world. 10 years passed. The world above moved on. Cities grew. New leaders came and went. Children born after the Odyssey's return knew the story like a fairy tale. Humans went to the stars, met the wise aliens, and were sent back like misbehaving kids. Some laughed. Some felt shame. Few believed anything would change. But deep under the desert, in a place no map showed, change was being built. The facility was called Site Gamma. It sat beneath layers of rock and steel powered by a hidden fusion core. Tunnels stretched for miles. Labs, workshops, and training rooms filled with people who had vanished from the world above. They were scientists, engineers, soldiers, and dreamers, all brought here by one man, Nathan Cole. Nathan was not a loud man. He didn't give speeches or wear uniforms. He wore simple clothes, spoke quietly, and spent most of his time in a small office filled with notes, drawings, and broken pieces of old tech. But everyone listened to him, because he had a plan, and he never gave up. His plan was simple: build a ship, not like the Odyssey, not a slow, open vessel that begged to be judged. This one would be fast, silent, and strong. A ship that could return to Kepler 442 without being seen. A ship that could make the Veln feel what they had done. He called it the Vanguard. The work was hard. Materials were scarce. Governments watched for illegal tech projects. So Nathan and his team worked in secret. They used fake mining reports, buried shipments in cargo trains, and sent data through old satellite relays no one monitored. Every piece of the Vanguard was made in pieces, then brought underground to be assembled like a giant puzzle. The ship was shaped like a dark blade, coated in a special material that absorbed light. It had no windows on the outside. The crew would see through sensors and cameras. Its engine was not a slipstream drive like the Odyssey's. It used a new kind of pulse drive, silent, fast, and able to jump short distances without leaving a trail. But the most important part was the mind of the ship, an AI named Corey. It was not just a machine. It was built to learn, to adapt, to think like a human, but faster. Corey could control every system, fly the ship alone if needed, and even talk to the crew in a calm, steady voice. "Are we making a weapon?" Lila Monroe once asked Nathan as she stood in the lab, watching drones test new stealth fields. "No," Nathan said. "We are making a voice. The Veln didn't want to hear us, so we'll make them listen." Lila nodded. She had spent years angry after the mission, then sad, then empty. But here, in this hidden world, she felt something again. Purpose. She worked on the science systems, sensors that could read alien energy patterns, ways to decode the Veln's telepathic signals, and a device that could send a message not in words, but in feeling. Meanwhile, Jason Cole trained every day in the SimPods. These were rooms that could mimic space missions, full of danger and surprise. He flew fake versions of the Vanguard, dodged invisible enemies, landed on alien worlds. He wasn't just a pilot anymore. He was a weapon. "You're pushing too hard," Daniel Reeves told him one night after a long session. "They pushed us out," Jason said, wiping sweat from his face. "I won't let that happen again." Daniel had become the leader of the crew. Nathan was the mind of the project, but Daniel would command the ship. He was calm, fair, and knew how to keep people together. He spent his days training the team, running drills and making sure everyone remembered why they were doing this. "We're not going back to destroy," he told them again and again. "We're going back to prove we belong." Not everyone agreed. Some in the team wanted revenge. A man named Rick, a former weapons engineer, once said, "We should blow up their towers, make them suffer." "And become what they feared?" Daniel replied. "No, we'll be better." Slowly, the Vanguard took shape. It was smaller than the Odyssey, built for speed and stealth, not comfort. It could carry 34 people, Every part had a purpose. The walls were lined with radiation shields. The floors could vibrate to keep bones strong in space. Food was made from algae and protein paste, but it kept people alive. One night, Nathan stood alone in the main chamber, looking up at the ship. It hung from the ceiling, dark and silent, like a shadow waiting to move. Corey's voice came through the speaker. Construction is 98.6% complete. Final systems will be ready in 6 weeks. Nathan smiled. Then it's time. He called a meeting. All the key people came. Lila, Daniel, Jason, Rick, Corey's main coder Amelia, and a few others. We've been in the dark for 10 years, Nathan said. The world thinks we failed. The Velm think we gave up. But we didn't. We learned. We built. And now we go back. No one clapped. They didn't need to. The feeling in the room was strong enough. The Vanguard will launch in secret, Daniel said. We'll use the old lunar supply route. A cargo ship will carry us into orbit. Once we're free, we activate the pulse drive and jump to Kepler 442. And when we get there? Amelia asked. Lila stepped forward. We don't attack, we watch, we learn. We find their weak point. The Veln are strong, but they're not. Perfect. Nothing is. Rick crossed his arms. And if they try to kick us out again? Then we stay, Jason said. This time, we don't let them turn off our engines. The final weeks were a blur of work. Tests, drills, system checks. The crew lived on the base, sleeping in small rooms, eating together, training together. They became a team, not just co-workers, a family. On the night before launch, Daniel stood with Jason on a high platform looking at the Vanguard. Do you think they'll remember us? Jason asked. Remember the Odyssey? Maybe. But not us. To them, we were a mistake. A small thing they wiped away. Then let's make sure they never forget us again. Daniel placed a hand on his shoulder. That's the point. The next day, the crew boarded a fake supply freighter in Alaska. No one questioned it. Cargo ships flew to orbit every week. This one carried ice, fuel, and repair bots. And hidden inside a sealed cargo bay, 34 people in black suits, ready for war, not with guns, but with will. The ship rose into the sky. The crew felt the push of gravity, then the quiet of space. Once clear of Earth's sensors, they opened the bay. The Vanguard floated out, small and dark against the E. Stars. Activate pulse drive, Daniel said. Drive online, Corey replied. Jump sequence in 10, 9. The crew strapped in. Jason sat at the front, hands on the controls. This is for everyone they dismissed, he whispered. 3, 2, 1. Jumping. Space bent. A flash. And the Vanguard was gone. Back. On Earth, no one knew. No alarms. No news. Just the quiet turn of the planet under the stars. But far away, near a blue world with crystal towers, something was coming. Something silent. Something human. And this time, it would not be sent away. The year was 2187. The stars had always called to humanity, but only now could they answer. After decades of dreaming, building, and testing, the first human ship capable of reaching another star system was ready. It was called the Odyssey, a long silver vessel shaped like a needle, built to cut through the dark between worlds. It carried 23 people, scientists, pilots, engineers, and a small team of soldiers trained for unknown dangers. Among them were Captain Daniel Reeves, a calm and steady man with deep brown eyes and a voice that made others feel safe. Lila Monroe, a brilliant astrophysicist who had spent her life studying alien planets from afar. And Jason Cole, a young pilot with quick hands and a sharp mind, always eager to be the first to see what lay beyond. Their mission was simple. Travel to Kepler 442b, a planet orbiting a quiet star more than 1,000 light-years away. Data from old space telescopes had shown it had oceans, an atmosphere rich in oxygen and signs of plant life. It was the best chance yet for finding life beyond Earth. The people of Earth watched the launch with hope in their hearts. Children in schools waved tiny flags. Leaders gave speeches. For the first time, it felt like humanity was no longer alone in the universe. The journey took 3 years. The Odyssey used a new kind of engine, one that bent space just enough to let the ship slip forward like a stone skipping across water. The crew slept for most of it, kept alive by machines that fed them and cleaned their blood. When they woke, they stretched, laughed, and looked out the windows at a new star. Kepler 442b was real. It hung in the sky like a blue jewel wrapped in white clouds. As the Odyssey entered orbit, the crew felt a mix of awe and fear. They sent drones down to scan the surface. The land was green. Rivers ran through wide valleys. Forests stretched for hundreds of miles. And then the drones found something else. Cities, not ruins, not ancient stone, but tall, glowing towers made of a material that looked like crystal. They pulsed with soft light, rising from the edges of lakes and mountains. And they were alive with movement, shapes, tall and slender, walking between them. The crew held their breath, first contact. They waited. They studied. They sent out a simple signal, music, math, images of Earth. They did not want to scare anyone. They wanted to say, "We are here. We come in peace." 3 days later, a ship appeared. It did not fly like human ships. It simply was. There, one moment, empty space. The next, a vast, shimmering object shaped like a flat disk, glowing with inner light. It made no sound. It cast no shadow. It just hung beside the Odyssey, silent and still. Then, a voice, not through the radio. It came inside their heads. "We see you." The crew froze. Lila's hands trembled on her console. Jason looked at Daniel. Daniel stayed calm. "Who are you?" he asked aloud, though he knew they would hear his thoughts. "We are the Veln. This system is ours. You are not ready to be here." "We mean no harm," Daniel thought. "We only came to learn, to meet you." There was a pause. Then a wave of images poured into their minds. Scenes of Earth, wars, burning cities, oceans choked with plastic, forests cut down, children crying, politicians shouting, bombs falling. You destroy your world. You fight each other. You act on emotion, not reason. You are not ready for the stars. "That's not all we are," Lila said, her voice breaking. "We also build. We heal. We explore. We care." Another silence. "We have watched many species rise. All who come too soon bring chaos. We protect the balance. You must leave." Before anyone could react, the lights on the Odyssey flickered. The engines died. Every screen went black. The air recyclers slowed. The crew gasped as gravity wavered. The Veln ship moved away. A single message echoed in their minds. "Go back. Do not return." Then it was gone. The Odyssey floated, helpless. The crew worked for hours to restart systems. Some came back online, others did not. The slipstream drive was dead. They could not jump home. Instead, they fired their weak backup, thrusters, and began the slow crawl back to Earth, a journey that would take over 3 years. During that time, no one spoke much. Lila stared at her notes, her data, her dreams. Jason sat in the pilot's chair, hands on empty controls, as if hoping they would wake up. Daniel walked the halls, checking on people, saying kind words, but inside, he felt shame. They had been judged and found wanting. When they finally reached Earth, the world was waiting. The Odyssey docked at Lunar Station Alpha. Cameras from every nation followed its every move. Crowds gathered in cities. Leaders stood ready to welcome heroes. But when the hatch opened, no one cheered. Daniel stepped out first, his uniform clean but his face tired. Then Lila, her eyes red from sleepless nights. Then Jason, who looked down at the floor as he walked. They were taken to a large hall filled with reporters, scientists, and government officials. A man in a dark suit stepped forward. "Captain Reeves," he said. "What happened?" Daniel told the truth. He spoke of the beautiful planet, the crystal cities, the telepathic beings. He told them the Veln had not attacked. They had not even raised a weapon. They had simply looked at humanity and decided they were not good enough. A heavy silence fell over the room. Then the questions came. "Why didn't you fight? Did you beg? Are we banned from space now?" Lila stepped forward. "They weren't cruel. They were calm, certain. They believe we are dangerous. Not to them, but to the universe." A general stood up. "Then we build weapons. We go back with force." "And prove them right?" Daniel said. "That's exactly what they expect." The room argued. Some wanted war. Some wanted to hide. Others said humanity should change, become better, and try again in 100 years. But one man listened in silence. Nathan Cole, Jason's older brother, a quiet man who worked in a small lab in Nevada, far from the big space centers. He studied energy fields and deep space signals. He had always believed in the mission. When he saw his brother walk out of that ship, broken and silent, something inside him snapped. That night, he opened a locked drawer. Inside was a flash drive labeled Project Aegis. He had started it years ago, in secret. A plan, not for peace, for revenge. He sent a single message to a list of names. Scientists who had been fired for radical ideas, engineers who had built weapons then regretted it, pilots who had never been chosen for glory. The message said, "They think we are weak. They think we will obey. They are wrong. Meet me in Sector 9. Bring your best work. We are going back." Weeks passed. No news. No leaks. Then, one by one, people disappeared. A biologist from Boston, a drone expert from Texas, a quantum coder from Seattle. Earth moved on. The Odyssey was put in a museum. Schools taught the story as a lesson in humility. But deep underground, in a hidden complex beneath the desert, lights burned through the night. Machines hummed. Screens flashed with designs of ships, weapons, stealth systems. Nathan stood at the center, surrounded by men and women who still believed. "They didn't just send us away," he said. "They insulted everything we are. They said we don't belong, but we do. And one day we'll show them." Lila Monroe walked in the next day. She had quit her job, left her home, driven for 2 days. "I want in," she said. Daniel Reeves arrived a week later. "If we go back," he said, "it won't be to beg. It will be to be seen." Jason looked at his brother. "What's the plan?" Nathan smiled for the first time in years. "We learn, we build, we wait. And when the time comes, we return. Not as guests, not as beggars, as humans." Above them, the stars shone cold and distant. But down below, something new was being born. Not hate, not fear, vengeance. And this time, it would be silent. The stars were quiet, but the silence was not empty. After the battle, the fleet stayed near L-29. The damaged ships were fixed, the lost were remembered. The survivors worked, healed, and waited. They had won, but they knew the Karath would not stay gone. They would come back, stronger, angrier, but something else was coming too. The signal from deep space had not been a mistake. It was real, and now it was getting stronger. Every day, the message grew clearer. Not just words, but images, ships, peaceful faces, open hands, a promise. "They're coming," Tommy Reed said, watching the data on his screen. 3 large vessels, moving slow, No weapons charged, no signs of attack. Do we trust them? Jake Morris asked, standing behind him. We don't have to trust them yet, Linda Walsh said. We just have to be ready. Paul Greer stood at the front of the command room, arms behind his back, eyes on the main screen. The unknown ships were still days away, but their path was clear. They were heading straight for the L-29 system. They saw the battle, Paul said. They saw us fight the Karath. They saw us protect the Vey. That's why they're coming, not to attack, to meet. What if it's a trick? Asked Dean, the captain of the Storm. What if they're like the Karath, just pretending? Then we'll know soon enough, Paul said. But we don't hide. We don't run. We face them as equals. He turned to the crew. Prepare for first contact. Clean the decks. Fix the lights. Make the Vanguard look like a ship of peace. But keep the weapons ready, just in case. The next days were busy. The fleet cleaned up. Flags were hung. Messages of peace were prepared in many languages, human and Vey both. Maria Ellis trained medics in case there were injuries. Jake and the engineers made sure the comms systems worked perfectly. Linda spent hours with the Vey scholars building a shared message, not just words, music, art, images of Earth, of Vey, of families, of stars. We show them who we are, she told Kale's brother, Niran, who had taken his place as Vey leader. Not warriors, not victims, people. Niran nodded. And we show them that kindness is not weakness. At last, the day came. 3 great ships appeared at the edge of the system. They were not like the Karath. No spikes, no red lights, no jagged edges. These ships were smooth, silver, shaped like crescent moons. They moved slowly, gently, like leaves on a calm river. They stopped at a safe distance. Then a signal came. We are the Alari. We have watched from afar. We did not interfere. We do not force our way. But today, we speak. Because you have earned the right. Paul stood in the comms room, Linda beside him. This is Admiral Paul Greer of Earth. We hear you. We welcome you. The reply came fast. You fought not for land, not for power, but for life. That is rare. That is good. We are not your masters, not your enemies. We are friends. A pause. Then, may we come closer? Paul looked at Linda. She gave a small nod. Yes, he said. Come in peace. The Alari ships moved forward. They stopped again, waited. A small pod launched from the largest one. It floated toward the Vanguard. The airlock opened. A being stepped out. Tall, thin, skin like silver mist, eyes large and soft, glowing faint blue. It wore a simple robe. It did not carry a weapon. It raised one hand, palm open. Paul stepped forward. He copied the gesture. The being spoke, its voice calm, like wind over water. I am Rael, of the Alari. We have lived long, seen many wars, many ends, but few beginnings like yours. Paul lowered his hand. We are new to the stars. And yet, Rael said, you act with wisdom. You protect the weak. You honor the fallen. You do not kill without cause. That is not common. He looked around the room. At the humans, at the Vey, at the walls with names carved into them. You have paid a price. We did what we had to, Paul said. Rael nodded. That is the mark of true strength. In the days that followed, more Alari came. They shared knowledge, medicine, ways to grow food on dead worlds, ways to heal broken minds. They showed the humans and Vey how to build better cloaking fields, how to use clean energy, how to speak across the stars without fear, and they told stories of other worlds, other people, other wars. The Karath are not the only threat, Rael said. There are others, dark ones, hungry ones, but there are also helpers. Like us. Like you. Will you fight with us? Linda asked. Not with weapons, Rael said, but with truth, with light, With hope, we will teach, we will guide, and if the time comes, we will stand beside you. Paul felt something he had not felt in a long time. Hope, not just for survival, but for a future. On the moon below, the colony grew. New homes were built. Children played in the soft light. They and humans worked side by side, planting gardens, raising animals, teaching school. The vanguard was repaired, stronger than before. The fleet was no longer just Earth and Vey. It was growing. 2 more ships arrived, smaller, fast, from a race called the Trin. They had been hiding from the Karath, too. When they heard what Earth had done, they came. "You gave us courage," their leader said. "Now we fight with you." Paul stood on the bridge one night, looking at the sky. Linda joined him. "Do you think this is what the Karath feared?" she asked. "Not our weapons, not our ships, but this, us bringing others together?" "Yes," Paul said. "They rule by fear. We build with trust. That's why they'll lose." A new signal came in, not from the Alari, not from the Trin, from Earth. The Global Command sent a message. "We see what you've done. We are proud. We are sending more ships. More people. Earth stands with you." Paul smiled. For the first time, Earth was not just a planet. It was a beacon. When the aliens thought allies were coming, they thought of an army of conquerors. But Earth showed up, and Earth brought something the galaxy had almost forgotten. Unity. Weeks passed. The fleet grew to 23 ships. The colony on the moon became a town, and the stars no longer felt so dark. One night, Rael came to Paul. "We must go," he said. "Our path is long, but we will return, and we will tell others of you." "Tell them what?" Paul asked. "That in the edge of the void, a small fleet stood, not for glory, not for power, but for life, and they were not alone." He stepped back. His ship rose into the sky. As it left, it sent one final message. "You are not the first to fight, but you may be the first to win, not by force, but by heart." Paul looked at Linda. "We did good," he said. "We did better," she said. "We started something, and far away, in the deep, more lights began to shine. Ships, many ships, moving toward them, not in war. In hope, the galaxy was waking up, and Earth had lit the first spark.